This podcast was produced using artificial intelligence and refined by human editors.
Welcome, my fellow Globetrotters, to another episode of Travel with Lara and Luca. I'm your host, Luca, the man who can't sit still, joined as usual by the wanderlust queen herself, Lara. How's the day in your part of the world, Lara?
It's brighter today knowing we're about to take our listeners on a virtual tour to one of my favorite cities, and I know it's yours too, Luca, the heart of Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur.
We're talking about the city where the skyscrapers stand tall, but the heritage stands taller. Where every street corner has a story, and sometimes, if you're listening closely, it will whisper it to you.
And we are definitely the city's storytellers for today. Let's dive straight into the awe-inspiring contrast of Kuala Lumpur, where the past and present merge to create something you can't quite find anywhere else.
True that, Lara. From the dizzying heights of the Petronas Twin Towers to the age-old serenity of the Batu caves, today's episode is going to bridge centuries in just 50 minutes. Pack your virtual bags, folks, because we're about to take off.
But before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's give our first-time listeners a warm salam datang. That's welcome in Malay, by the way. Luca and I are seasoned travelers, best friends, and your guides to discovering the hidden and not-so-hidden jewels of cities around the world.
And Kuala Lumpur is a city that deserves to be talked about, explored, and best of all, tasted. A metropolis that's as famous for its stunning skyline as it is for its steaming street food stalls. It's a city that I fell in love with the moment I stepped off the plane.
Same here, Luca. There's magic in the air in KL. That's what the cool kids call Kuala Lumpur, and you can catch it whether you're there for a layover or a long stay.
Oh, the urban maze that is KL. You could wander for days and still find new wonders at each turn. But fear not, dear listeners, because we're here to break it down for you, one remarkable segment at a time.
That's right. Today's tour of Kuala Lumpur will guide you through the iconic sights that you just can't miss. The mouth-watering cuisine bound to make you crave seconds. And of course, those hidden gems, because we all love a good secret.
And we'll wrap it all up with personal anecdotes sprinkled in. Like that time, I accidentally joined a street dance competition thinking it was a local festival. But more on that later.
Speaking of personal stories, Luca, I remember when you thought it was a good idea to eat durian before our food segment recording. Your microphone has never forgiven you.
Hey. In my defense, how was I to know that durian would linger, so to speak? A lesson to all. It's a fruit that's loved and loathed in equal measure, and it certainly leaves an impression, much like Kuala Lumpur itself.
And on that note, let's take our listeners on the first leg of today's journey. It's time to explore Kuala Lumpur's iconic sites, where history reaches for the clouds. Think of majestic structures that define the skyline and also capture the soul of the city.
After that, brace yourselves as we'll dive straight into the culinary cauldron of the city in our next segment. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Are we ready? Then let's set off on this grand tour of Kuala Lumpur's most iconic sites.
All right, adventurers, we're diving into the iconic sites of Kuala Lumpur. Luca, where do you think we should start?
Well, Lara, when you say Kuala Lumpur, what's the first image that pops into your head?
I'd say it's the gleaming spires of the Petronas Twin Towers touching the sky. Those are impossible to miss.
Exactly, the Petronas Towers. So, let's start there. Standing majestically at 452 meters, these were once the tallest buildings in the world.
And they remain the tallest twin towers, which is no small feat. I remember the first time I saw them. I was absolutely floored by their sheer scale.
You and me both. And I can't help but chuckle when I think back to the time I got a crick in my neck from staring up at them for too long.
It's not just their height, Luca. The design itself is a masterpiece, right? The towers are a symbol of Malaysia's aspirations, and their Islamic-inspired architecture is absolutely striking.
That's true. The cross-section of the towers is based on an 8-pointed star, which is common in Islamic patterns. And fun fact, Lara, the sky bridge that links the two towers is not attached to the main structure.
Yes, because it's designed to slide in and out of the towers to prevent it from breaking. It's incredible how it both represents and accommodates the stability and flexibility that a building that height needs.
All right, let's descend from those dizzying heights and talk about another towering beauty, the KL Tower, officially known as Menara Kuala Lumpur.
Ah, the KL Tower. It offers the best 360-degree views of the city and a chance to dine with a view at the revolving restaurant. Though, I'll never forget the time I got a little too dazzled by the view and my dessert ended up on my lap instead of in my mouth.
That's one way to have a memorable meal. Despite your little mishap, we must mention that the tower is more than just views and food. It's an important symbol for Kuala Lumpur, right?
Absolutely. The KL Tower is a marvel of modern engineering and kind of like a younger sibling to the Petronas Towers, boasting its own impressive height of 421 meters if you include the antenna.
What's intriguing is that it's not only a feat of engineering, but also functions as an Islamic Falak observatory to observe the crescent moon to mark the beginning of Muslim months, such as the month of Ramadan.
Moving from the sky to the earth, let's talk caves. The Batu caves, to be more precise. Now, this isn't your average cave system, is it?
Oh, it certainly isn't. It's not often that you have a massive limestone hill featuring caves that have become a Hindu shrine.
The statue of Lord Murugan at the entrance is simply mesmerizing. Standing at 42.7 meters, it's the world's tallest statue of Murugan. The golden hue against the backdrop of the limestone cliffs is a sight to behold.
It's quite a journey to reach the shrine, though, isn't it? Those 272 steps are not for the faint-hearted.
True, but it's worth every step, especially during Thaipusam. The festival transforms the place with its incredible energy and piercing. Literally.
Oh yes, the body piercings are not for the squeamish. The devotees believe the pain is a means to purify the soul.
Not to mention the playful macaques expecting you to share your snacks with them.
Speaking of sharing, Lara, what would you share with first-time visitors about approaching the Batu Caves?
I'd say approach the place with respect. It's a religious site that's also a stunning natural wonder. And bring water, because those stairs are a workout.
So, we've talked about towering marvels of man's creation and the breathtaking beauty of nature, both of which are quintessential to Kuala Lumpur.
Absolutely. And each location tells a story that's entwined with the city's pulsing heart. But if you think our journey through iconic sites stops here, think again.
Yes, and if you've developed an appetite from all these majestic sights, stick with us, because up next, we're talking about all things delicious.
Get ready to taste the diverse flavors of Kuala Lumpur as we take you through a gastronomic tour that will leave your mouth watering.
You won't want to miss this, because we're diving into the bustling street food scene, lavish dining experiences, and the must-try Malaysian delicacies that define Kuala Lumpur's culinary landscape.
That's what's cooking in the next segment of Travel with Lara and Luca. Stay tuned for the delicious scoop on KL's cuisine.
Sink your teeth into this, folks. We're diving into the delectable world of Kuala Lumpur's cuisine.
You had me at sink your teeth in, Luca. We can't talk about KL without drooling over Jalan Alor, can we?
That's the street food mecca of Kuala Lumpur right there. Picture this. Rows of hawker stalls, smoky grills, vibrant colors of local fruits and spices lighting up the night.
And the smells? Oh, you've got your sautés sizzling, your noodles tossing in woks and durian, a scent you never forget.
It's like all of Malaysia's culinary history is jostling for space in that one street. You hop from stall to stall. It's like a buffet that stretches on forever.
Don't just hop, Luca. Dive in. Remember that time you attacked that plate of char kway teow like it was your mortal enemy?
If by attacked, you mean ate with the sophisticated poise of a gentleman, then yes, I remember. It's flat rice noodles, stir-fried to perfection with a mix of seafood, just heavenly.
Ah, we're all gentlemen until a second helping of rojak comes along. Now that's a plate full of textures and tastes, fruits and veggies with that sweet and spicy peanut sauce.
You've got to respect a dish that pulls off being refreshingly cool and invigoratingly hot at the same time. It's the duality of Malaysian cuisine in one mouthful.
Speaking of heat, let's not forget the fire dancers of street food, the mighty sambals. Each vendor has their own secret blend that they guard like the crown jewels.
And it's not just heat for heat's sake, right? There's complexity, a bit of tang, some sweetness, a love letter to chili in every spoonful.
Well, from the frenetic streets to the hallowed halls of fine dining, KL's culinary scene is no one-trick pony. Your take on the upscale food adventure?
It's a fascinating world where you find these chefs who are like alchemists, right? They take these time-honored flavors and give them this modern spin that just makes your brain and taste buds do backflips.
Like nasi lemak sushi rolls. Can we talk about that for a second? Buttery coconut rice, spicy sambal, crispy anchovies and peanuts, all wrapped up in seaweed.
It's an East meets West take on a breakfast staple. It's evolution on a plate. No wonder they say Kuala Lumpur is Asia's melting pot of flavors.
Speaking of melting, have you ever dared to take on the durian-based desserts at these high-end joints?
Oh, Lara, the king of fruits has become the emperor of controversy, hasn't it? You either worship at its spiky altar or you're running for the hills.
No hills to run to in a fine dining restaurant. But I guess that's the thrill of Kuala Lumpur's cuisine. Even in its most elegant forms, it's full of surprises.
Now on to what I call the heart and soul of Malaysia, nasi lemak. Lara, you've got quite the connection to this dish, don't you?
It's close to my heart, indeed. Coconut cream-infused rice, the anchor to your sambal dreams, fried chicken, egg, cucumbers, and anchovies. Every bite is a different chapter of the same delicious story.
You don't just eat nasi lemak, you experience it. It's about balance, the creaminess, the crunch, the spicy, the savory.
And if there's drama in the nasi lemak, then teh tarik is the perfect act break. The pulled tea, a performance and refreshment all rolled into one.
Oh, watching the tea stretching between two cups, that frothy finish. You actually took lessons on that, didn't you?
I did, and let me tell you, it's a lot harder than it looks. The tea has got to have that perfect, light texture, the right temperature, and just the right sweetness.
The drink's like a welcome handshake or a pat on the back. Welcome to Malaysia. Here's some comforting tea that's been flung through the air in style.
A dynamic trail of flavors, excitement, balance. That's Kuala Lumpur on a plate and in a cup. It's food that tells the tale of a diverse culture, songs of heritage sung with every spice and stir.
And speaking of tales, did you know there's a whole world lurking just beyond those hawker stalls and fine dining windows? Yes, dear listeners, get ready as next we take you off the beaten path to uncover the hidden gems of Kuala Lumpur. And we're diving right back into the heart of Kuala Lumpur with a segment we like to call Hidden Gems, where we uncover the overlooked treasures of this vibrant city.
Hidden gems, indeed. These are the places that might not make the cover of the glossy travel brochures, but they are bursting with culture, art, and stories.
Speaking of art, let's start with something for our creative souls out there, Kuala Lumpur's backstreet art scene. It's not just about the galleries and museums. The city's streets are alive with murals and installations.
Oh, absolutely, Luca. Have you seen the street art along the alleyways of Bukit Bintang? It's like wandering into an open-air gallery, each piece telling a story of its own.
Yes, and when these walls talk, they talk politics, love, humor, and everything in between. There was this mural I stumbled upon. It was a satirical take on local politics, whimsical but also so sharp.
I love how it doesn't pull punches. But there's more to the art scene than just the politics. Remember that massive piece on Jalan Sultan? It's playful, colorful, and it perfectly captures the energy of KL's street life.
Definitely hard to miss. It's an illustration of Kuala Lumpur's diversity. In one section, you've got the towering Petronas, and in another, a homage to the traditional keris.
Now, not to steer away from the art, but there's something truly original about Kampung Baru, the city within a city.
Kampung Baru, yes. The contrast is just surreal, isn't it? You're there with these small wooden houses, and in the background, the KL skyline looms.
There's this smell of rendang wafting through the streets, kids running around, grandmas fanning the satay flames. It's a slice of traditional Malay life, so authentic.
It's funny how you speak of authenticity, Lara, given your bartering episode there. What was it, a 10-minute negotiation over some fried bananas?
Oh, let's not. The auntie had a firm grip on her bananas and an even firmer resolve on her pricing. But you'll find the warmest hearts and some truly precious moments if you're respectful and ready to smile.
Speaking of precious moments, Taking a breather from the city's hustle can lead you to the most unexpected places, like the little-known green lungs of KL.
The secret gardens, I know, right? I accidentally discovered one when I was trying to cut through what I thought was a shortcut. And suddenly, I was surrounded by butterflies, a little stream, and a canopy of greens.
That'd be the KL Forest Eco Park, wouldn't it? Near the KL Tower?
Exactly. It's like stepping into another realm. City sounds just fade away, and you're left with rustling leaves and whispers of nature.
Who knew that within the steel and concrete heartbeat of Kuala Lumpur sit these serene corners? It's a timely reminder that in all the chaos, serenity is but a few steps away.
And that you should always be open to getting a bit lost in this city. It's when you find these hidden gems.
True. Just like those little coffee shops tucked away in the nooks and crannies of Chinatown. Remember the one?
Ah, you mean the place where the coffee comes with a side of philosophy? The owner's brewing methods are an art form and his thoughts on life? Even better.
So guys, when in KL, do venture beyond the glittering lure of the shopping malls.
Embrace the unexpected. Like Luca says, those traditional coffee shops, that curious alley laden with art, the green oasis camouflaged in the metro maze.
And as we nestle in these hidden corners, we discover the stories of Kuala Lumpur that are whispered, not shouted.
Stories that might just stay with you long after you've left the city's vibrant embrace.
That would mean foregoing the Twin Towers for a day.
Or skipping the shopping spree in favor of a maze of green.
But trust us, these hidden gems are where the heart of Kuala Lumpur truly beats.
And speaking of heartbeats, you'll certainly feel yours a bit more in our next segment.
Oh, absolutely, because next up we're exploring KL's must-see places like the majestic Islamic Arts Museum and the beautiful chaos that is Merdeka Square.
Stay with us to uncover where history comes alive and the city's soul dances in the daylight. We're about to take you to those places that you simply can't miss on your Kuala Lumpur adventure.
And so with our taste buds still tingling from that delicious dive into KL's food scene, we pivot to something equally enticing. Because no trip to Kuala Lumpur is complete without experiencing its must-see places.
True that, Luca. And when we talk about must-sees, we're not just covering tourist hotspots. We're unpacking the soul of KL through its landmarks. Let's start with a personal favorite of mine, the Islamic Arts Museum, Malaysia.
Ah, the IAMM, what a place. Nestled in the leafy enclave of Kuala Lumpur's museum belt, it's the largest museum of Islamic arts in Southeast Asia.
Largest and arguably the most striking. I mean, you walk in and you're cocooned in this oasis of calm with its domes and reflective pools, quite the contrast from the city hustle.
And inside, oh, the inside. You've got manuscripts, textiles, carpets, and calligraphy, not to mention the scale models of the world's most beautiful mosques. It's like a spiritual journey across the Islamic world under one roof.
Precisely. Remember that miniature of the Al-Masjid al-Haram in Mecca? I could study its intricate details for hours. The beauty's in the details, isn't it?
It sure is. And the museum doesn't just admire the past. It's about how Islamic art has evolved today. It's living history, engaging, vibrant, and dare I say, harmonious.
Couldn't agree more. And speaking of craftsmanship, that brings us to our next stop, the Royal Selangor Visitor Center.
Oh, the pewter powerhouse. You know, visiting there showed me why Made in Malaysia holds such clout in the pewter world.
Haha, the world's largest pewter tankard, remember that? It's so bizarre and beautiful at the same time. It's like you don't know, you need to see a giant pewter beer mug until you actually see it.
That's the charm of KL for you, quirky yet fascinating. The visitor center allows you to try your hand at crafting pewter pieces. Safe to say, my arts and crafts skills leave much to be desired.
Mine too, but it was a hoot seeing you grapple with that wooden mallet during the workshop. Even if pewter making isn't your calling, there's something about feeling the metal bend and fold under your hands.
Yes, tactile memories that last a lifetime. And the pieces themselves, Beyoncé shimmers in pewter form, the perfect blend of function and finesse.
They make it look easy, don't they? Their craftsmanship, the rich history of Royal Selangor, it's a testament to the city's entrepreneurial spirit.
Absolutely. And that verve for commerce, it was sparked in a place now known for its tranquility, Merdeka Square.
the very heart of Kuala Lumpur's colonial and independence narrative. It's where, in 1957, the Union Jack was lowered and the Malayan flag unfurled. Such a poignant, symbolic moment in history.
As a history buff, standing there gives me chills every single time. The square's framing British architecture subtly reminds you of the journey to Merdeka, or independence.
The juxtaposition is poetic, isn't it? And who can miss the 95-meter flagpole, one of the world's tallest, proudly displaying the Jalur Gemilang, Malaysia's flag?
Exactly. It's more than just a flagpole. It's a beacon of Malaysia's freedom and unity. And let's not forget, right across is the Sultan Abdul Samad building, with its Moorish designs and clock tower.
Oh, it's like KL's Big Ben. Adds such grandeur to the skyline, and at night all lit up, it's a sight to behold. But what I love most about Merdeka Square is how the locals embrace it. Picnics, selfies, history, and life intertwined.
A perfect canvas of Malaysia's past, present, and future. There's an adage, Lara, that goes, to know a city is to know its stories. Well, stories don't get richer than the ones KL tells at these must-see places.
And speaking of stories, stay tuned, because in our next segment, we're talking about some weird facts that will have you looking at Kuala Lumpur in a whole new light.
Weird, but absolutely wonderful. Until then, keep dreaming of those Kuala Lumpur sights, and we'll be right back with tales that just might boggle your mind.
Welcome back, wanderers. You're tucked in with Travel with Lara and Luca, and we're about to dive into some of Kuala Lumpur's weirdest facts.
Speaking of diving, Kuala Lumpur isn't exactly a seaside city, but it does have a river, the Klang River, snaking through its heart with a very peculiar feature. Have you seen it, Lara?
Oh, you mean how it looks like someone took a giant highlighter to it? Yes, I've seen the vibrantly colored river. How could I miss it?
Exactly. For those who haven't witnessed this Technicolor marvel, we're talking about the beautification project, the River of Life. They've actually added environmental safe dyes to the water, making it look otherworldly.
And it's not just for show either. This rainbow palette is a creative way to draw attention to the river's pollution problems, turning it into a spectacle that's hard to ignore.
Right, and if you time your visit with a festival or public holiday, you might just see the river decked out in special colors. It's like nature's own disco.
Now, speaking of things that are hard to believe, KL has its fair share of hauntings as well. I know you love a good ghost story, Luca.
Oh, I do. And Kuala Lumpur does not disappoint. The city is peppered with ghostly lore. Take, for instance, the haunted high-rise called Highland Towers, where a tragic collapse has left behind more than just memories.
I actually do have a spooky tale from there. One night, I ventured near the area with some local friends, and I swear I felt a sudden chill, and it's always steamy in KL.
Maybe it was just the AC from a nearby convenience store?
Very funny. But locals take these stories seriously, and it's fascinating how these tales become weaved into the fabric of city life.
Now, from supernatural to the super circular, did you know that Kuala Lumpur is absolutely in love with roundabouts?
You mean those dizzy traffic circles that are practically a maze if you miss your exit?
The very same. KL once held the record for the most roundabouts. It's like their own brand of traffic control chaos, and I may or may not have circled one for 5 full minutes trying to find my exit.
And I bet you passed the same street food vendor enough times to order lunch without stopping.
Guilty as charged. But I believe some local driver once told me, roundabouts are like metaphors for life. You keep going in circles until you find the right path.
That's poetically deep or deeply poetic for a roundabout. But that's Kuala Lumpur for you. Even their traffic patterns have philosophy.
Now, as we wrap up this delightfully strange segment, brace yourselves, dear listeners, for our next portion, where we'll delve deep into the historical heartbeat of Kuala Lumpur.
We'll be uncovering tales of the past, from its colonial legacy to the tin mining boom that sparked the birth of a bustling metropolis.
Stay tuned and let's discover the roots that nurtured this amazing city. And here we are, diving into the tapestry of time for Kuala Lumpur in our history segment.
Oh, history, the story of us. Now, Luca, I know you're bursting with tales from KL's colonial past.
Right you are, Lara. Let's take our listeners back to when Kuala Lumpur was a sleepy little tin mining village, looking completely different from today's gleaming cityscape.
A transformation that's almost hard to imagine. So this mining village attracted attention from the British, correct?
Indeed, Lara, the tin mining potential here was a magnet for British interests, and that's when KL truly began to grow. It was the Wild West of the East, you could say.
Cowboys with bowler hats and teas instead of saloons, perhaps?
Quite the picture. But really, the Brits brought infrastructure, administration, and with that, an influx of migrants from China and India, each group adding its own thread to the fabric of KL.
That's the multicultural tapestry we love, but with colonial rule came struggle and the fight for independence.
A lengthy fight, which reached its crescendo right in Merdeka Square.
Ah, the very heart of independence. You know, that's where the Union Jack was lowered and the Malayan flag hoisted for the first time.
A moment that marked a new chapter in Kuala Lumpur's history, leading to the diverse and independent metropolis it is now.
Transitioning from colonial Kuala Lumpur to independence must have been intense.
A period of tumultuous change. But before we go further, we should look at the catalyst of it all, the tin that started the boom.
Tin, that unassuming metal, but for KL it was the foundation of everything.
Imagine this, Lara. Prospectors flocking here, the landscape carved up with mines, muddy waters running through the settlement, thus earning the name Lumpur, which means mud.
Literal Kuala Lumpur, muddy confluence in Malay because of the rivers, right? An unglamorous, yet oddly fitting beginning for such a glamorous city.
Kuala Lumpur's evolution from these muddy origins is fascinating. The friction between prospectors and local leaders even sparked a civil war at one point.
Civil war, that's a side of KL's past not often spoken about.
The Selangor Civil War, or Klang War, a power struggle over control of the tin mines. It's a saga of alliances, betrayal, and eventual British intervention.
Alliances? Betrayal? It's like a history book turned drama series, but I guess it was a pretty dark time for the people living through it.
No doubt. Fortunately, Kuala Lumpur rose from those ashes under British rule, becoming the capital of the Federated Malay States.
Capital status is a game changer. That's when things really started to shift, right?
Exactly. Infrastructure, such as roads and railways, was built. Colonial buildings that stand to this day were erected, like the Sultan Abdul Samad building.
Such a landmark. I love the blend of Moorish and Western architectural influences. It's like looking back in time.
True, but colonial rule also left less tangible legacies, such as the spirit of cooperation across Kuala Lumpur's diverse communities. It's part of the city's heartbeat even today.
I love that perspective, Luca. Now, let's talk about post-independence Kuala Lumpur. From 1957 onward, the city had to redefine itself.
And redefine it did. Kuala Lumpur became the federal capital of the newly formed Malaysia in 1963, a symbol of unity and progress.
Progress that has led to the Kuala Lumpur we know today, with its towering skyscrapers and bustling commerce.
Exactly. Its history lays the groundwork for understanding Kuala Lumpur's unique character in the present.
So, from colonial rule to independence and beyond, Kuala Lumpur's history tells the story of resilience, transformation, and unity.
Beautifully put, Lara. With resilience woven into its very core, the city continues to adapt and thrive on the world stage.
Honestly, Luca, I get chills thinking about all the layers of history beneath our feet when we roam KL's streets.
Same here, Lara. And with that thought, we bid adieu to the history segment.
But don't go away. Coming up next, we've got expert travel tips, where we're sneaking you some insider info that'll make your KL visit as smooth as the silk at the Central Market.
Indeed, tips that could save your time, your money, and maybe even your sanity.
Until then, remember that every step you take in Kuala Lumpur is a step through history.
All right, welcome back, adventurous listeners. Here we are in segment 7, ready to dish out those expert travel tips that'll make navigating Kuala Lumpur a breeze. Are you ready, Lara?
Ready, Luca. Folks, navigating KL is an adventure, but let's make it a fun one, shall we? First tip, public transportation. The LRT and MRT systems are your best friends.
Absolutely. They're efficient, air-conditioned, and quite affordable. Not to mention they save you from the legendary KL traffic jams.
Speaking of traffic, let's talk about the art of crossing the street here. Pedestrian crossings do exist, but it's as if they're more of a suggestion rather than a rule, so stay alert.
That's right. When it comes to taxis, Grab, Southeast Asia's answer to Uber, really changed the game. Always opt for a Grab car for a hassle-free experience. Plus, no haggling required.
And speaking of haggling, let's dive into shopping, the ultimate test of your negotiation skills. Kuala Lumpur has shopping experiences for every taste and budget, from upscale malls to night markets.
Which do you prefer, Lara? The glitz of Surya KLCC or the charms of the Central Market?
Oh, it's the markets for me. Nothing beats the thrill of a good bargain. Begin with a friendly smile and never settle for the first price.
Patience is key. But if you're not up for the sport of haggling, malls have fixed prices, and the air conditioning is a welcome respite from the heat.
Speaking of heat, here's something every traveler to KL should know. The weather is unpredictable. One minute it's sunny, and the next you're caught in a downpour that could rival a monsoon.
Hence, the importance of always carrying an umbrella. Pack one that's compact but sturdy, the kind that won't turn inside out with the first gust of wind.
And maybe bring along a light waterproof jacket. It's also helpful inside these aggressively air-conditioned malls. It goes from tropical outdoors to Arctic indoors in no time.
There's the heat, yes, but also the rainstorms can be quite spectacular. Once you're safely indoors, they make a magnificent backdrop to a window-side coffee.
But don't let a little rain stop you from exploring. Sometimes the city feels more mystical in the rain. Just ensure your footwear has good grip. We don't want any slipping and sliding.
Now, a word about personal safety. KL is generally safe for tourists, but like in any big city, it's important to be aware of your surroundings, especially in crowded places.
Right? And beware of the motorbike snatch thieves. A good rule of thumb is to keep your bag on the side away from the road and maybe consider a crossbody strap.
I learned the hard way that a shiny new phone is not something to flaunt on the streets. Keep your gadgets discreet, folks, and you'll avoid unwanted attention.
Now, the language barrier. In Kuala Lumpur, English is widely spoken, so communication isn't often a problem, but learning a few basic phrases in Malay goes a long way.
Terima kasih, or thank you, always draws a smile. And if you're vegetarian or have dietary restrictions, make sure to learn how to express that.
Good point, Luca. Now let's get a bit digital. We recommend downloading a few apps. The Grab app we mentioned, a currency converter, and maybe a Malay language app.
Apps make everything easier. And while on that topic, stay connected. Wi-Fi is widespread, but getting a local SIM card for data is inexpensive and helps you stay online when out and about.
And keep an eye on local events. Festivals, exhibitions, cultural performances, they can really enrich your experience and are often free or for a minimal charge.
Now, if shopping, weather, and transport tips had you scribbling notes, get ready to expand your to-do list as we venture into our next segment.
That's right, pack your virtual bags again because we're about to take you on a day trip with us to some incredible side excursions from KL. From historical towns to natural wonders, this will get exciting. And we're zooming out of Kuala Lumpur for a second, dear travelers, as we embark on some thrilling side excursions just outside the city. I'm giddy with excitement for this one.
As am I, Lara. There is so much to see just a short trip away from the city center.
First stop on our excursion list, the impressive, the administrative, the futuristic. Putrajaya.
Ah, Putrajaya, the brainchild of Malaysia's visionary planners. What's your favorite part about it, Lara?
Well, the Pink Mosque, or Putra Mosque, took my breath away. It's built beside the serene Putrajaya Lake and can accommodate a whopping 15,000 worshippers.
The lake is a marvel, isn't it? Perfect for a leisurely boat ride to soak in the sights of the city.
And let's not forget those bridges. The Seri Wawasan Bridge, in particular, is like a scene from a sci-fi movie at night, with all its lights and structure.
Indeed. The architecture in Putrajaya is a fantastic leap into the future. You almost feel like you've traveled in time, especially at the Millennium Monument.
I think what gets me, Luca, is that it's such a planned space. Everything has its place, which, for someone coming from the wonderfully chaotic KL, is both refreshing and a tad surreal.
You took the words right out of my mouth.
Moving on, we ascend to the cool climbs of the Genting Highlands, the city of entertainment perched in the sky. Luca, weren't you just there last weekend?
Guilty as charged. I can't get enough of that mountain air. The entire place is like one big carnival. The outdoor theme park may be gone, but the indoor one packs a punch.
And for those who are not theme park enthusiasts, they're strawberries. Lots of them. Like the Genting Strawberry Leisure Farm, where you pick your strawberries and eat them too.
For me, it's the views, Lara. When the fog sets in, it's enchanting. You're above the clouds. It's ethereal.
Perfect for those who want a respite from the heat of Kuala Lumpur, don't you think?
Absolutely. And if you're looking to stay overnight, there's a range of accommodations from luxury to budget-friendly. Plus, who doesn't love a good old cable car ride with panoramic views?
I admit, my heart skips a beat every time. But a good beat, like the flutter of 100 butterflies.
Ha! Speaking of natural wonders, shall we get metaphysical with the fireflies of Kuala Selangor?
Magical is the word. Kuala Selangor is nature's very own light show. When dusk falls over the river, the fireflies start their dance. It's a twinkle-filled spectacle.
You said it. One tip, go on a moonless night and you'll be rewarded with the best view as the mangrove trees along the river light up with thousands of fireflies.
The boat rides that take you up close to the fireflies are just so enchanting, and the silence, oh the silence, apart from the whispers of nature, that is.
That silent harmony is what makes it an exceptional experience. It's the kind of thing you don't just see, Lara, you feel it. And that feeling lingers long after the boat docks again.
For those planning the trip, remember to book in advance. Try to be as quiet as possible to not disturb the fireflies and avoid flash photography, right?
Right you are. It's all about preserving the beauty and natural state of their habitat. The fireflies are an amazing reminder of the delicate balance of our ecosystem.
It's these little lights of life that showcase the marvels around Kuala Lumpur, just waiting to be appreciated.
And with that, we wrap up our side excursions, each offering their flavor, a slice of adventure, a dash of awe.
As we glide back into KL, let's prep our listeners for our concluding segment. It's been quite the journey today, and we're culminating with our final thoughts.
It will be a moment of reflection and an opportunity for listeners to hear our top highlights from today's escapades.
It's the end of the world and we know it. Well, just for today's episode at least.
But don't click away just yet. After the break, we'll serve up our last words, Biosphere travelers. Stay with us for the spellbinding conclusion of Travel with Lara and Luca. And just like the last flicker of daylight over the Klang River, we're nearing the end of today's journey through the vibrant streets of Kuala Lumpur.
What an amazing ride, Luca. I mean, can you believe we've covered everything from the twinkling lights of the Petronas Towers to the secret sparkle of the fireflies at Kuala Selangor?
Time flies when you're unpacking the treasures of KL. Speaking of which, what's one thing you're going to take away from today's chat, Lara?
Oh, it's got to be our chat about the hidden art scene. The notion of discovery, of peeling back layers to find beauty where you least expect it, is just so emblematic of KL to me.
I'm with you on that. For me, it's the blend of it all. The history laced with modernity, the chaos orchestrated into harmony. Kuala Lumpur is like a symphony conducted by a city.
Beautifully put. Hey, we'd love for you to chime in with your own experiences of Kuala Lumpur or your responses to all we've discussed today.
Yes, catch us on our socials, tag us in your cityscape selfies, your foodie finds, or just drop a comment with your thoughts.
Luca, did you have a favorite dish from our culinary segment? I bet it's something spicy.
You've caught me. The nasi lemak stole my heart. Again, what can I say? I'm a sucker for those explosive flavors. And yours?
Teh-tarik for me. There's something so poetic about that pulled tea, as if the drink is woven from the tales of the people who enjoy it.
Lara, we say this every time, but isn't it astounding how travel changes us? How every place leaves its imprint on our soul?
It is. And listeners, whether you're just dreaming of far-off places or you're a seasoned voyager, we hope today's episode has added a little more wanderlust to your spirit.
Don't forget, if you've been inspired, or if we've missed a spot that you think is unmissable, share it with us. We are constantly learning, and no one knows a city better than those who tread its streets every day.
And if you've enjoyed today's escapades, tell your friends about us. Our travels are always brighter with companionship.
That they are. If you're new around here, certainly do check out our previous episodes. Each one is a passport to a new adventure.
True. And next week we're taking you to a place with rolling hills, enchanting castles, and a very famous monster. Yes, we're heading to the Scottish Highlands.
Ah, the land of locks and legends. I'm already excited to debate with you about the existence of Nessie, Lara.
Well, I'll have my arguments ready and maybe a few tales of my own. But until then, we've reached the sign-off point.
Thank you, listeners, for choosing to travel with Lara and Luca. We're honored to be a part of your world and are thrilled to have you in ours.
Keep the spirit of adventure alive. May the road rise up to meet you. And until next week, safe travels, friends.
Goodbye. And remember, the journey is just as important as the destination. Take in every moment.
See you next time on Travel with Lara and Luca. Slantamath.
And there's the Gaelic already. Until our next adventure together. Goodbye.